हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna. So start with the prayers. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः तदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम्। Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you. We are continuing our discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are discussing chapter 15 of the Madhya Lila. So in the last few classes, we were discussing chapter 14, which was centered around the Lord's participation in the Rath Yatra and associated uh, celebrations. We started with the Rath Yatra, then we spoke about, of course, we started with the Gundicha, then we spoke about the Rath Yatra, then we spoke about the Hera Panchami, then we had that very interesting discussion on the glories of Radharani and the love of Radharani for Krishna, the qualities of Srimati Radharani, which are so very extraordinarily attractive to Sri Krishna. Of how Radharani is the only one who can actually charm and attract Krishna's heart fully. Nobody else has that potency, and that is naturally to be expected because she is the Lord Swarup Shakti. The one truth has become two for the purpose of enjoying pleasure. And to assist their pastime, Rasaraj Sri Krishna, with his Adi Shakti, Swarup Shakti, was to assist them. So many various associates have been manifested, and so many jivas who are given a choice either to participate in the Leela or to choose to be vimukh to the Lord. Vimukh means turned away from the Lord, like the living entities in this material world. So the greatest auspiciousness for living entities is to turn their face towards the Lord and participate in the Leela of joy. Anandamayo Abhyasat. Vedanta Sutra says ultimately what is existence about? The existence is nothing but the overpouring of the joy of the Supreme. It's like a huge tsunami of beautiful rasa, nectar, joy, transcendental experience. We are thirsty. We are holding our cup to drink some water, and then suddenly a huge tsunami comes of pure nectar. As tiny jivas, what we can do? We can only fill our small glass. So Radha and Krishna has that unlimited ability to experience that rasa. And even then, he cannot find the end of it. That is the extent of the love of Srimati Radharani. They are all very, very tiny jivas. We can only, try to fill our small cups and drink to our satisfaction from the unlimited ocean of devotional service. That's why all the greatest of acharyas say, spiritual truths. In fact, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, says, sometimes the comparison is given to an ocean, sometimes the comparison is given to an unlimited sky. How high can somebody fly in the sky? Is there a limit? Is there an upper ceiling? Sparrows can fly up to a height. Crows can fly up to another height. Eagles can fly very high. But are they actually touching the sky, and are the eagles saying, oh, we cannot fly any higher because sky has ended? No. It is said in ancient times, great birds like Jatayu and Sampati could fly into outer space across planets. How they did that, I do not know, but they were mystical, extraordinary birds. There are many beautiful pastimes related to Sampati and Jatayu with respect to their interplanetary flights. But the point is, the sky is unlimited. Based on your strength, whether you are a sparrow, crow, a hawk, a huge eagle, or a Jatayu, depends on how high you can go. But no matter how high you go, nobody can span the sky and say, I have reached the limits. So devotional service is like that. The experience of the depth of devotional service, the sweetness of devotional service, the realization in devotion to Krishna, the realization of Krishna, of his qualities, of his nature, of his name, anything related to Krishna is so unlimited that no devotee at any stage can say, I have figured it out now. There remains nothing more for me to know. In Tattva, you can understand your spiritual identity and that you are related to Krishna in a particular way. But in terms of spanning the expanse of Krishna's glories, nobody can do. Not even Krishna. What to speak of us? Krishna is continuously trying. But by the time he can assess himself fully, his potency has expanded further. Like that the Acharya has explained, for our understanding. So why I'm mentioning all this is that whatever is explained here and whatever we are hearing, we have a limited intelligence, we are conditioned souls. How much? For us, probably even one cup of that nectar is too much. We take one drop, we will be drowned. So anyway, that beautiful nectarian pastimes of Rath Yatra and surrounding those episodes were there. And the Lila continues. This period of the pastime of the Lord in Jagannath Puri is the period where the devotees from Bengal have come to Puri. If you remember, we discussed how King Maharaj Pratap Rudra had made us arrangements for all these devotees staying. They're supposed to stay. They kind of took unpaid leave from their jobs, came over for 4 months. Actually, when they come, they didn't even know when they're going to go back. That's part of the story. They just came. Because nobody wanted to go back. Every day you're with Lord Chaitanya singing and dancing. Who wants to go back to work? To a mundane life. Of course, the lives of these devotees were never mundane, but nonetheless, to go back to just maintaining families, doing their professions, and they had the opportunity to associate with the Lord. So in this chapter, the pastimes continue after the Rath Yatra. There's one very interesting episode which is discussed in this chapter, and that is mentioned. Today we'll not be discussing that episode in detail, but the chapter begins by mentioning about how the Lord, one day when he was honoring Prasad at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Amogha, the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, criticizes Lord Chaitanya. It's a very interesting and instructive lesson in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in spite of that impudent, offensive behavior of Amogha, how the Lord bestows his causeless mercy on Amogha and purifies and delivers him, that is discussed. So that discussion is towards the end of this chapter. But nonetheless, the chapter is entitled, "The Lord has Prasad at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya." Even though in terms of number of verses, that episode is probably towards the end, maybe, I don't know, maybe 20-25% at most of this chapter. So the early part of this chapter is describing the Lord's beautiful association and interaction with various devotees. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins the chapter by describing what was the nature of the Lord's daily activities and interactions, typically when the Lord was at Puri, off festival season. Festival season means Rath Yatra, that's very intense, but other days, regular days, how was the Lord's schedule? So the bottom line was that the Lord was always, as far as possible, spending time with devotees, dancing and chanting. So Prabhupada often says, what is this Krishna consciousness movement? Chanting, dancing, feasting. So when we say chanting, we are not just talking about, of course, we are talking about japa, we are talking about sankirtan, we are also talking about katha. Because kirtan, katha is also kirtan. But he speaks, because kirtan means glorification. When we do Krishna katha, that is also kirtan. So hearing and chanting, dancing is an intense absorption in the holy name. Samyak kirtan, it is samkirtan. Complete kirtan, samyak means complete. So one way is japa, one way is to sing together, and the other is to dance together. So when we dance together, it is called most complete form. Because you're using your words, you're using your ears, you're using your mind, you're using your entire body as an offering to the Lord. Together, that creates a very, very powerful, transformative energy for oneself and for everybody around. So that is the Yuga Dharma. Yajnai sankirtanai prayai yajanti hi sumedasaha. Those who are intelligent in the age of Kali worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the yajna of sankirtana. Krishna has especially said in Bhagavad Gita, Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. Of all the yajnas, I am japa yajna. But the japa, when it's taken to its most complete pinnacle of kirtan, which is some kirtan, is the most potent, especially in Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, there is Shakti in Sangha being together. That is a very important statement in the scriptures. And Kali Yuga's strength is in coming together. Because individually we are very weak. Even spiritually, even though we are philosophically convinced, unless we are actually together. Now every weekend we are coming together, we are discussing Harikatha. This Harikatha, this discussion is not just an intellectual exercise of understanding something. Yes, there is some benefit in understanding Tattva. But more than this connection of minds that we are having right now, actually more than minds, it is connection of hearts, where we are jointly glorifying the Lord. I may be speaking, you may be hearing, but we are still jointly glorifying the Lord. Actually, there is no difference. If you are hearing perfectly and I am speaking according to Shastra, there is equal credit. In fact, if you are more absorbed than I am in speaking, you are more absorbed in hearing, you may get more benefit. So this connection of hearts together of Harikatha is also having a very positive, very powerful positive effect, even though we may be situated across different parts of the world. Of course, in our case, I think we are mainly across Malaysia, India, few in the US, and some in the Middle East. But generally, that's how our group is distributed. But that is very, very powerful. Doing bhajan, doing harikatha together is very, very powerful. So the life and soul of the followers of Lord Chaitanya, and this was in Puri to come together with the Lord and glorify the Lord. Kirtan and Katha is so beautiful. Kirtan and Katha becomes more relishable when the performer of the Kirtan or the Katha has intense taste. Because the taste and attachment that the devotee has for Krishna can be experienced by the listener through the ear, can be perceived in the heart. It's not just about the intellectual presentation. That may be there. That is also an attractive aspect. But more than that, the attachment that the devotee has, the faith that the devotee has, that can be relished by us within our heart when we hear. Why I'm mentioning this? Because just imagine what kind of intensity and experience it will be in the presence of Lord Chaitanya himself and all these pure devotees. So the daily dinacharya of Lord Chaitanya in Puri was early morning the Lord would go and see, after his morning cleansing and everything, he would go to the temple of Lord Jagannath and he would take darshan in the temple of Lord Jagannath. He would offer obeisances. He would sing and dance in front of Jagannath. Then he would spend some time in the temple. Then when it would come to the Uppala Bhoga offering, which is sometime, I think, I don't know the exact time, but sometime mid-morning, if I am not wrong. Uppala Bhoga offering, the Lord would then sit outside the temple. Outside means outside the main altar area. In the temple premises only, he would be sitting. And then once the Uppala Bhoga offering would be done, then the Lord would step out of Jagannath temple. Usually he would carry some prasad. And where he would go first? The first place he would go would be to the house of Haridas Thakur at Siddha Bakul. So Haridas Thakur wouldn't be able to enter the temple, but Lord Chaitanya would personally come carrying Jagannath's Mahaprasad. And then he would go and meet him, he would give him Mahaprasad. Such amazing blessing Haridas Thakur had. And after spending some time with Haridas Thakur discussing the glories of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya would return to his residence. Because the Lord's residence at the house of Kashi Mishra is not very far from Siddha Bakul. Just few minutes walk. So then the Lord was returned to the house of Kashi Mishra. He would sit in his room, the Gambhira, and he would be chanting Japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And thus the Lord would be sitting there doing his japa. In the morning, every day, Advaitacharya would come to visit Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there were some devotees who would practically every day want to spend some time with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Advaitacharya would come. And Advaitacharya's mood, even though Advaitacharya is not only senior in age, he's also the god brother of Lord Chaitanya's guru. So in one sense, he's in a senior position from a social and spiritual hierarchy perspective, but the mood of Advaitacharya, we discussed this earlier, right, is Chaitanya Das, Mui Chaitanya Das. Chaitanya Das, Andhra Dasir Anudas. That I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya. That was his ego. Sometimes when we hear the word ego, we think of the word ego always in a negative sense. Pride is negative, but the word ego by itself just means identity. What is one's identity? In the material conditioned state, one has false ego. What is false ego? That I am this body, and whatever belongs to the body is mine. That is false. But there is pure ego. Pure ego means pure sense of identity. Bhakta Abhiman, another word for the pure ego, especially from the devotee's context. That the devotee is proud, not proud about himself, proud about the Lord. I am the servant of such a Lord. Bhakta Abhiman. I am the servant. Chaitanya Das, Mui Chaitanya Das. So what? Who are you? Doesn't say, I am Advaita Acharya. No, no, no. I am servant of the servant of Lord Chaitanya. Yes. I have got that good fortune. That was Advaita Acharya's mood. So Advaita Acharya would come. When he would come with a plate of sandalwood pulp and flowers and garlands. He would come in front of Lord Chaitanya. He would start worshipping him. He would offer him scented water to wash his feet and to rinse his mouth. Then he would start applying very, very fragrant sandalwood pulp all over the body of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya would accept. Then he would take some tulsi manjaris, place them on the Lord's head. Then he would take a very beautiful garland and put it around the Lord's neck. And then he would start offering obeisances and prayers unto the Lord. So as soon as Advaita Acharya would finish his worship, Lord Chaitanya would always be very clever. He would immediately snatch the same plate which Advaita Acharya had brought with flowers and chandan. And he would start worshipping Advaita Acharya. He'll put flowers, he'll put pulp, and he will also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would worship Advaita Acharya and he would utter a prayer. That's Kaviraj Goswami says. Whatever you are, but I offer my respects unto you. Because both are ultimately Ishvara Tattva. Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu and Sadashiva combined. And Lord Chaitanya is the original Supreme Personality of God. We have discussed this multiple times. Even amongst the expansions of the Lord, all expansions of the Lord have an ego of being a servant of the original Supreme Personality. Because we have to understand why this is not about criticizing or lowering any other forms of the Lord, but we have to understand what is the philosophy here. The point is actually very simple. The point is the original Supreme Lord expands into both various personal expansions of his, as well as the jivas, as well as the Shakti expansions, all for the purpose of expanding his joy. So if they are meant for expanding his joy, aren't they actually meant to serve him? Even the Vishnu Tattvas. So when we understand in this totality, we understand this is not about discrimination. Even though they are him manifested in a way to serve the purpose of the original he, the Supreme Lord. So that's how one should see it and understand it. So in that way, very beautifully, Advaita Acharya and Lord Chaitanya, very sweet relationships they would have. And Lord Chaitanya would also worship like this, and Advaita Acharya would be worshiping. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, he would utter funny sounds from his mouth, and Advaita Acharya would laugh. So these interactions between Lord Chaitanya, Advaita, and Nityananda, they would also be, very humorous. They would be sweet. There would be an element of respect, but there would also be a lot of humor. Very, very sweet. And regularly it is said, Advaita Acharya and his wife, Sita Thakurani, they were very, very keen to invite Lord Chaitanya to their home and feed him. So whenever and practically every day Advaita Acharya would come, almost every other day Advaita Acharya would extend invitation. Lord Chaitanya, please have lunch at my home. So if you looked at Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's calendar, there was no calendar, but if you looked at his calendar, I think Swarup Damodar was probably maintaining the calendar dates. This day, this person's home invitation, Most of the days was Advaitacharya's name. And then many other devotees would also be uh, calling Lord Chaitanya for lunch. Lord would be pretty busy in his lunch schedule by visiting the homes of various devotees. And this was especially so when the devotees from Bengal would come, because all the grahasthas would be very keen to serve Lord Chaitanya. And their makeshift residences, Lord Chaitanya would go and these devotees would cook. And like what we discussed earlier, sometimes the schedule of availability of lunch appointments of Lord Chaitanya was so tight that sometimes 2-3 grahastha families would come together and invite the Lord for lunch. And oh, I will cook the pulao rice, you cook the curry, she will cook the vegetable, that person will cook the sweets, another family will cook the pakoda. So everyone will bring and then they will jointly serve Lord Chaitanya. So like this, so again, chanting, dancing, feasting. So actually Krishna consciousness is Kevala Ananda Kanda. In our Krishna conscious movement, renunciation is defined not so much as the giving up of objects, is defined as giving up the proprietorship and enjoyership of objects. So when a devotee sees everything in connection with Krishna and engages everything in Krishna's service, then one achieves what is known as Yukta Vairagya. Vairagya, which is connected to the Lord, which means everything, like what we spoke a few minutes earlier, right? If everything belongs to the Lord and everything has been expanded from the Lord for his own enjoyment, including the energy, including us, the living entities, what is there to renounce? Because nothing belongs to us. The whole purpose is to use everything in his service, isn't it? So the devotee's vision is not about, I have to give up, I have to be liberated, so I have to be detached. He's not thinking like that. Though sometimes in a neophyte stage, one may be benefited by that kind of thinking. As the devotee matures and his vision becomes spiritualized, he starts seeing. This is the vision we want to develop. It belongs to Krishna, everything. What is there beyond Krishna? Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is nothing beyond me. Correct? There is the Lord, there are his energies, various categories of energies which are not different from him. They are his extensions and expansions. And everything is meant for serving him. So when this vision is maintained, then one is situated in pure ego, not in false ego. One sees everyone and everything in the context of how everything should be engaged in Krishna's service and how I can be a part of that endeavor to serve the Lord and his devotees in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter how small or big. That's based on how blessed we are by the Lord in terms of any specific abilities and capabilities. But ultimately, what matters is being engaged. So, like this, the devotees were having a wonderful time. Whether festival or no festival, it was always a wonderful time. In Krishna consciousness, what is a festival? Festival is when devotees come together, do Hari Katha, do Hari Kirtan, eat Prasad, dance together. That's a party, right? Even in this material world, when you ask somebody, hey, what are you doing at the party? Huh? Hey, what kind of question is this? Huh? We'll have music, we'll have dance, and we'll have food. And we gossip and talk to each other. And we have a good time. That is a good time, okay, in the material world. So that same tendency, where is the tendency coming from? The tendency is coming from the innate nature of the jiva to glorify Krishna in the association of devotees. So the Vaishnavas manifest the pure original tendency. They hear and chant the glories of the Lord in the association of devotees. They sing, they discuss, they dance, and they eat prasad. And they have loving, friendly relationships. So such a wonderful, simple formula. Krishna consciousness is so natural So natural actually. What is difficult is to maintain that vision. But through the association of devotees, as our heart becomes purified, we are able to more and more maintain this vision. And the more we are able to maintain this vision, the more we are able to make spiritual advancement, the more we can see the world as Vaikuntha. For very advanced devotees, they don't see the material world as the material world. For very advanced devotees. In fact, for those who are on the highest platform of devotional service, Uttama Bhakti, they don't preach. If you are situated on the Uttam level of consciousness, they don't preach. Why they don't preach? Because in their vision, they see everybody as devotee. They see everything as Krishna's energy. That vision is very different. It's at a very different platform. Everything is belonging to Krishna. Everything is going according to his perfect plan. Everybody somehow or the other engaged. They have a very different way that they see. So it is the Madhyam Adhikaris mainly engaged in preaching because as a part of their seva, they are expected to discriminate. Anyway, that's a big topic by itself. So all the devotees, they were having a good time. They stayed for around 4 months. And throughout those 4 months, the Chaturmas period, lot of festivals, beginning with, of course, the Gundicha, the Rath Yatra, we discussed about Hera Panchami. Very soon after, right? Now, Rath Yatra was a couple of weeks ago now. In another 2 weeks or so, almost 2 weeks, we'll have Shri Krishna Janmashtami. Before that, we have Balram Purnima. Then we have Radhashtami. Of course, in our case, we also have Prabhupada Parents' Day. It's a festival season. The Chaturmas period is for us a festival season. So all these festivals, Lord Chaitanya would celebrate in the association of all these devotees. So this is packed festival season. So Janmashtami came, and then, the next day morning is Nandotsava. Lord Chaitanya and his close associates, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, they celebrated the Nandotsav by dressing up like cowherd boys. And they were also acting like cowherd boys. They were carrying pots of milk and yogurt, and on a rod they would balance on this side milk, that side yogurt, and pots they would carry. They would act as if they are cowherd boys. And then they came together to celebrate the festival, dressed as cowherd boys. They were all loudly chanting Hari Hari. Two male devotees dressed themselves as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. Kanani Khutiya dressed himself as Nanda Maharaj. Jagannath Mahiti dressed himself as Mother Yashoda. So sometimes male actors would dress themselves in a female character. That was quite common in those days. Because ladies would not particularly come out into the open in front of men and act in dramas in those days. So there was a beautiful drama around Janmashtami. And Maharaj Prataparudra personally attended along with Kashi Mishra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and other devotees. Lord Chaitanya was so happy to see that drama. He was dancing greatly and jubilantly. Everywhere milk, yogurt and turmeric water was scattered. So Advaitacharya wanted to have some more fun. So he told Lord Chaitanya, "Oh my dear sir, please don't be angry with me. You are dressed like a cowherd boy. I will accept you as a cowherd boy only if you can swing this stick like cowherd boys of Vrindavan do." And he gave Lord Chaitanya one stick. So the cowherd boys of Vrindavan were very expert in, swinging sticks. That was one of their favorite play. So Lord Chaitanya accepted Advaitacharya's challenge and he took a big rod and he started to swing it around. I think you must have seen how, the rods are swung around in various ways, very beautifully, artistically. Lord Chaitanya was swinging the rod with such elegance and such beauty, to wheeling it around in all directions again and again. He would throw the rod into the sky, it would swing, swing, swing and come down and he would catch and again start swinging it. So it was a very beautiful scene. Sometimes the rod would be above the Lord's head, sometimes it would be behind and from under his legs, all over he was moving it. And the devotees were laughing. Wow, this is so amazing. Here is a very grave sannyasi now acting like a cowherd boy, like playing with the stick as if he's a cowherd boy. So everyone, when they saw this, because Lord Chaitanya is none other than Krishna himself, they were all so overwhelmed with the emotions, remembering the cowherd boys of Vrindavan. Nityanand Prabhu got excited. He also took a rod. He also started swinging it. He also probably couldn't control himself. Krishna and Balram. And they were all deeply absorbed in the ecstatic emotions of their Lila as Gopals. Then, based on the instructions of Maharaj Prataprudra, one of the servants, the temple superintendent, he brought, his name was Tulasi, he brought some cloth which was offered to Lord Jagannath. So it is very traditional. You will see many devotees, the cloth which has been worn to the Lord, many devotees will put it around their neck, some will tie around their head, some will tie a piece around their wrist. Like that, different devotees honor the Maha garments of Jagannath. So, many devotees, including Lord Chaitanya, they wrapped the cloth around their head. And as all this drama was going on, of course, all this was going on together. The drama where Nanda and Yashoda were acting out, that was also going on in parallel as Lord Chaitanya was dancing. And enacting the Leela of the birth of Krishna and the celebration of the Nandotsav festival the next day. These devotees, especially Kanani Kutia, was a Grihastha devotee. He gave away so much donation. He emptied the wealth of his house, enacting as if he's Nanda Maharaj who's giving away donation, celebrate the birth of Krishna. He said he emptied all his wealth. And Lord Chaitanya was very pleased to see. In fact, Lord Chaitanya was so pleased to see their mood as Nanda and Yashoda. Lord Chaitanya offered his respects to them and accepted them as his mother and father. So in that way, they celebrated the beautiful festival of Nandotsava. And then, of course, after the celebration, the Lord went home. Another day, it was the celebration of Vijaya Dashami, Dasera. So, Vijaya Dashami, Dasera celebrations. Also, Lord Chaitanya would very actively participate. Ram Lila also Lord Chaitanya was very fond of. On this particular day, it is said, when they were celebrating the Vijayadashmi, because Vijayadashmi especially represents the victory of Lord Ramchandra and the Vanaras over Ravana. Lord Chaitanya and all the devotees dressed up as monkey soldiers. In fact, Lord Chaitanya dressed up as Hanuman. Lord Chaitanya went into the mood of Hanuman. And, displaying the mood of Hanuman, he was, like carrying, big trunks or what he was enacting as if he's carrying big trunks of trees. And he was jumping as if he's jumping on the walls of Lanka and trying to dismantle them. And in the ecstasy of Hanuman, Lord Chaitanya was shouting, "Where is that rascal Ravan? How dare he kidnap Mother Sita, the mother of the whole universe? I'm going to kill him and his family." So, Lord Chaitanya would get into this mood and everybody would be very astonished. So this drama, celebration and enacting of pastimes is also very interesting and a very common feature of the celebrations of festivals. So this is also a very wonderful way, and that's why on many of our festivals within our society also we have this kind of a celebration where we enact dramas of the Lord's pastimes. And sometimes, of course, on big festival occasions, we do a lot of preparation and do a lot of dress up and do dramas. But even on small scale, it's very nice. And Lord Chaitanya would do this very often with his devotees. They would suddenly get into the mood and, suddenly pull characters. Oh, you are this, you are this, you are this. And they would suddenly start performing the pastime without any script, without any preparation. So that's also very beautiful. Suddenly getting into the mood and enacting. In fact, Lord Nityananda would do this. In his very early childhood pastimes, he would, with his friends, enact the various pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. So, like that, they celebrated various festivals across the entire Chaturmasya period. What were the other festivals? There was the Rasa Yatra, Deepavali, and the Utthana Dwadashi. Then one day, after all these festivals had ended, the devotees noticed Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, the two transcendental brothers, they were sitting together in a solitary place, nobody else around, and they were discussing something together. Even though externally nobody could hear what they were speaking, but somehow they could make out what the discussion was about. Why? Because later on Lord Chaitanya revealed what the discussion was about. Lord Chaitanya said that now 4 months of Chaturmasya are over. We're all family people. You spent 4 months of the year, 33% of the year here with me. Just hearing, chanting, dancing, cooking, feasting, serving devotees. Now you should go back to Bengal. And everybody was, like, For those of us who have been to transcendental yatras in the holy dhams, when the yatra comes to an end, it is actually so painful. Usually in material trips, at least this is my experience, after a few days, you just feel like, when I'm returning home, and you're very happy you're going back home, no matter how beautiful the place is. But when you're in the holy dham, when the time comes for the yatra to end, and I've seen this in other devotees as well, oh, why is this ending? I just wish that life just goes on like this, unendingly. That every morning we get together, go for Mangal Aarti, go together in yatra, hear kathas, do kirtans, eat prasad, and do various services, and wonderful day and night and day and night. So the devotees were very pained. But the Lord's consolation was, the Lord told them, this was very nice, 4 months. Next year also you come. So the Lord kind of sanctioned that, let us make this a yearly affair. Yearly yatra, 4-month yatra. So 33% of the year you are in Jagannath Puri with me. So at least that was a consolation. So everybody was, waiting for that Chaturmas period where they would come back. And then the Lord bade farewell to all the devotees. So the Lord said, now you go back to Bengal and preach in Bengal. So the Lord's main instruction was not just you go back to work. The Lord's main point was not so much that you go back to work. The Lord's main point was, I want you all to go back and preach in Bengal. So Nityananda Prabhu was assigned to be the chief preacher of Bengal. And Advaitacharya was also the very leading preacher. So he would tell Advaitacharya, please give Krishna consciousness. My desire is give Krishna consciousness, devotion to Krishna to one and all, even to the lowest of people, even to the Chandalas. The Lord told Nityananda Prabhu, you are the lead preacher. I have appointed you as the main preacher. Go to Bengal without restriction. Preach everywhere. And then he would ask all the other devotees to assist Nityananda and Advaitacharya. Especially he asked a few devotees directly assist Lord Nityananda in his seva. These names of these assistants are mentioned as Ramadas, Gadadhar Das. And Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda Prabhu, I am assigning these assistants to you. And then Lord Chaitanya told a very, very sweet things to Lord Nityananda. See, even though the Lord would be in Puri and the devotees externally would be in Bengal, their hearts would always be with each other. Lord Chaitanya never forgets the devotees in Bengal, and the devotees in Bengal never forget. And even when the Lord is in Puri for 8 months of the year and the devotees are in Bengal for 8 months of the year, some of these very, very special devotees still had experience of the Lord's direct presence and interaction when as they went about doing their services in Bengal. Lord Chaitanya personally tells Nityananda Prabhu, he tells you, go and preach, don't worry. I will, time to time, I will come. Whenever you dance in Kirtan, I will come. Others cannot see me. Sometimes you may be able to see me. But I will especially come, oh Lord Nityananda, when you are dancing. So it is said, whenever Lord Nityananda is dancing, Lord Chaitanya is there. He met Srivas Pandit. You remember in the Lord's earlier part of the Lila, every night for a year, all the devotees would gather at the home of Srivas Pandit, Srivas Angan. Srivas Pandit is one of the Panchatattvas, the incarnation of Narad Muni, the personification of devotional service. He embraced Srivas Pandit, put his arms around his neck, and very sweetly, Lord Chaitanya started speaking. Srivas Pandit says that I instruct you, please continue to do Sankirtan like you have been doing daily. And be assured that whenever you are dancing and doing Sankirtan, I will also dance in your presence. Oh Srivas, you can see me dancing, but others cannot see me dancing. So he gave this blessing to Srivas, he gave this blessing to Nityananda, that I will come and appear wherever you are there. And this would happen regularly. I mean, this was not just the Lord simply saying that think I am with you, not like that. The Lord would actually manifest. But only Nityananda would see when he is dancing, and Srivas would see in his home when he is dancing. Don't think I'm not there. And then he packed some Jagannath's Prasad and he took some cloth of Jagannath and he gave it to Srivas Pandita and said, please give this to my mother, Sachi Mata. Offer obeisances to her on my behalf and please beg to her that I am seeking her forgiveness. I don't know what kind of madness came upon me that I gave up the service of my mother and I took sannyas. I should have been taking care of my mother, but just see how I have, because of circumstances, I had to do this. Actually, I am subordinate to the love of my mother. It was my duty to serve her, especially after my elder brother was not there and she's a widow. I had to do this and I am feeling so remorseful that I am not able to serve her. Actually, I have acted like a madman. I feel I have offended her, but I am sure being a mother, she is not thinking of it as an offense. I am living in Jagannath Puri to honor the instructions that she has given to me. But at intervals, I also go to Bengal to see her. Indeed, I go daily to see her. And every day she feels my presence. Even though she cannot always see me, every day because of her intense love for me, she can feel the presence of her dear son Nimai. But oftentimes she doesn't believe I am there. This is the heart of the mother. She feels the presence, but she doesn't believe. And then Lord Chaitanya starts telling some beautiful episodes to Srivas Pandit. Tells one day, Mother Sachi, she every day she would offer Naivedya, the Shaligram Shila form. One day she had cooked a very special feast. She had cooked rice from a specific kind of variety which Lord Chaitanya liked. She Had cooked various kinds of spinach vegetables, curry made of banana flowers, fried patola with nimba leaves, pieces of ginger with lemon, yogurt, milk, sugar candy. All these items were favorite of Nimai. So she offered this naivedya to the Lord, and after that, the plate she took and she kept on her lap, and she was just thinking of Nimai. Oh, where is my Nimai? I just so wish that this prasad I could feed to Nimai. She was in intense separation. She was meditating on her son Nimai. Lord Chaitanya is narrating this. And as this happened, her eyes filled up with tears. And when this happened, I couldn't resist. I immediately went to that place, and in great haste, whatever she had put on the plate, I personally ate everything. Because in her heart, so much she wanted to feed me that I ate everything. And then finally, when she stopped crying and she looked at the plate which was on her lap, the plate is empty. She became confused. Huh? Did I do the offering or did I not do the offering? Plate looks empty. I thought I made the offering just now. Then she started, once for a moment she thought the Lord Imai has eaten, but then she said, no, how is that possible? Maybe I must have only made a mistake. I offered an empty plate because I'm so much lost in the thought of Nimai that I think I have offered an empty plate. So then she would go back to the kitchen, see all the vegetables there. Again, she would prepare the offering. Huh? Go back and offer again, thinking that she had offered accidentally an empty plate. So these kind of beautiful episodes would happen. So this was the regular mood that she would cook, and in great love she would call it. Lord Chaitanya says that whenever she calls out with great love, I have to appear there. I appear and eat. So this is Lord Chaitanya's promise. Whenever Mother Sachi will cook and call out to me to eat, I must come there and eat. So internally, Lord Chaitanya says, she knows that I'm eating, but externally, she cannot fully believe it. And then he tells Srivas, you go there, you tell her this, and you tell her that on the last Vijayadashami day, this episode had happened, the one I told you just now. And then when you tell her this, then she will believe that I'm actually coming. Because right now, she's not fully convinced that I'm actually coming. She's thinking, maybe I am imagining. So this is also a very important principle. Of course, Sachi Mata, Lord Chaitanya are at a different level. But sometimes as sadhakas, we sometimes genuinely imagine. Genuinely imagine in the sense, we imagine something is happening when actually nothing is happening. So one way, know whether something is genuinely happening is usually the Lord will give another indication to understand whether actually something mystical is happening or not. Like in this case, when Mother Sachi was in doubt what is happening, actually the Lord sent the message through Srivas, tell her that that day I had come. So confirmation. So usually, when such mystical things happen, the Lord usually will give some confirmation sign that yes, you are not imagining, because it's actually quite natural. Sometimes out of our affection, we may not do it deliberately. We may ourselves imagine certain things. So I'm just mentioning this as a comment. This is something that we must balance ourselves. Otherwise, there's a strong tendency in neophyte devotees to imagine as if certain things are happening when actually nothing is happening. So one should always either have some strong external confirmation or confirm with Guru or some senior devotees of how to understand certain things. So as Lord Chaitanya was describing all this and especially remembering the love that Mother Sachi has, he had a very extraordinary love for his mother. He was overwhelmed remembering. Somehow he controlled himself. Then he bade farewell to all the devotees. Then he spoke to one more devotee. His name is Raghava Pandit. Of course, he spoke to many devotees. Only some conversations are mentioned here. Raghav Pandit and his sister Damayanti, they were especially famous in Bengal as the most expert cooks. So just like Lord Chaitanya would be there would dance whenever Nityananda would dance, he would appear there. As he would dance in the Srivas Angan, whenever Srivas would do Sankirtan, like he would personally eat the offerings with Mother Sachi would make. Similarly, when Raghav Pandit cooks an offering, Lord Chaitanya must eat. That is the kind of love Raghav Pandit had. So some of these devotees, their love was so great, and their seva was not, they built big temples, they were big preachers, they were this, they were that. Of course, if somebody is empowered like that and they do that, that is wonderful. But what Krishna is interested is in the content of the heart. What kind of surrender, devotion, that intense desire in the heart of the devotee to please Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started glorifying the devotional service of Raghav Pandit. He said the devotional service that is rendered to Krishna by Raghav Pandit. Oh, devotees, please hear about it. It is supremely pure and very, very high level. The kind of offerings he prepares. And it's not just about the recipes and being a good cook. That's okay. There may be many good cooks. But the devotion, the sincerity, and the meticulousness with which he cooks. And Lord Chaitanya gives a few examples. There was one special blessing that Raghav Pandit King had. It's not mentioned here in this particular chapter, but it's mentioned elsewhere. The special blessing was, once Raghav Pandit would cook something, it would never go stale. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya would eat what Raghav Pandit has cooked after days, but it would be as fresh as it was when it was cooked. It was the special power in the cooking of Raghav Pandit and his sister Damayanti. We visited the kitchen. It is very close to Panihati, the kitchen of Raghav Pandit and Damayanti. So very special. Lord Chaitanya would relish things. So what is the Lord relishing? Is the Lord relishing the spices? So when the Lord is tasting, he is tasting the devotion of how the devotee has put his heart to making that offering. So the Lord gives explains to all the devotees a very special instance about the intense dedication and devotion of that Raghav Pandit had in terms of offering the very best to Krishna. So one of the favorite ways in which Raghav Pandit would like to serve Krishna is he would like to offer coconut water. And Raghav Pandit would be especially make a lot of effort to make sure nice sweet coconut is offered. So he would always be researching, like we check on Google, no? Always trying to find out which coconut trees produce the sweetest coconut water, and he would try to procure it. So even normally the coconut can be available. Bengal, where is coconut not available? And especially in those days, it is available everywhere, in all homes. But he would, be scanning for the best of coconut, and he would pay extra 5 times, 10 times the price, and he would order coconuts from wherever he could find that there is the best coconuts. And then he would personally wash, clean, then he would personally open the coconut. There's a particular way in which coconuts are opened. And then, I don't think he would put a straw like we put. He would open it nicely and, place it in front of the deities. He would make a hole at the top. Shraska Viraj Goswami, and he would offer it to the deities. And the Lord would love drinking because he would make so much effort to offer this coconut to Lord Krishna, and the Lord would love to drink. It is said, even though the Lord would, of course, always drink, sometimes the Lord would actually drink. Of course, the Lord actually drinks only, but actually drink in the sense that the water would disappear. And when he would remove the offering and when he would see that this coconut is empty, Raghav Pandit would become very pleased. Yes, the Lord has enjoyed this coconut. He would immediately take the coconut outside. What do we do when after we drink the coconut water, we give it back to the coconut vendor, and what do we ask him to do? We ask him to break it and take out the pulp. So he would go out, he would break it, he would take out the pulp, and then he would again put the pulp in front of Krishna. Okay, you drank the water, now you eat the pulp. And then the Lord would eat the pulp would disappear. And Raghav Pandit would become so pleased. Sometimes the Lord would take away the pulp, sometimes the Lord would eat the pulp, and then he would, after some time on that plate, fresh pulp would appear, like Prasad or Raghav Pandit to take back. So this was the kind of, Lila that Raghav Pandit was having with his deities. Yeah. Of course, if our offerings are disappearing at our home, then first we should ask a host of questions before concluding something like this. Whether it is the cat at our house which is eating, whether there is a rat nearby who's nibbling at the laddus, whether there is some other family member who's picking up from the offering plate before reaching any conclusion that Krishna is eating. I mean, it may be Krishna is eating. I'm not saying no, but all these things would happen right in front of Raghav Pandit's eyes, that sense. So one episode, I'll just take 2 more minutes and then we'll conclude. So one very interesting episode is mentioned of how meticulous Raghav Pandit was in terms of both two things. In terms of using the best items for offering for the Lord, and also that the items offered are extremely pure. Of course, this devotion was pure, but also ingredients top quality and the cleanliness top quality. So deity worship, Prabhupada would say, cleanliness, punctuality, very important. So once he found out from one place that, very good coconuts are available. So he paid a huge price. He asked one of his servants, go and buy them. So he bought 10 coconuts from there. Those coconuts were cleaned and they were nicely clipped and they were being readied for the offering. And Raghav Pandit was late. He was waiting for the coconuts to arrive. Time for offering. So this servant came a bit late. He was standing outside the door waiting for Raghav Pandit to collect the coconuts. And then later Raghav Pandit observed that this servant who brought the coconuts, he touched with his hand the ceiling on top of the door of the house as he was bringing the coconuts. And with that hand, he noticed that with the hand which has touched the ceiling, he touched that hand to the coconut. And he gave those coconuts to Raghav Pandit. Raghav Pandit chastised him, what are you doing? This door, so many people are going to and fro, and the dust of their feet is going around, and the dust of their feet is settling on the ceiling also of the door. You touch the ceiling, so the dust of the feet of people is on your hand, and you touch that to the item which is to be offered to Krishna. So now this offering is contaminated. I cannot offer this to the Lord. So literally that costly, expensive coconuts which he had paid premium price, he dumped it over the wall of the house. This cannot be offered. So, this episode is just to give an idea of how particular he was about pakka in his offerings to the Lord. And while the example of coconut is given, he was of that, consciousness, the best ingredients. He would make sure the best quality items with the best ingredients with great care are prepared. So that was his absorption. So different devotees have different absorptions in seva. His absorption was cooking. Cooking, not just preparation, but getting the best ingredients, call the cleanliness, cook properly, offer everything pakka. And he would make all kinds of items. He was the most accomplished chef, the best chef after Sachimata, in the opinion of Lord Chaitanya's Raghav Pandit and Ramayana. He would prepare spinach, vegetables, radish, various items made of fruits, chipped rice, powdered rice, various kinds of mithais, cakes, sweet rice, condensed milk, everything. Everything was first class. Also pickles, he would make various kinds of pickles. So Raghav Pandit was glorified like this by Lord Chaitanya in an incomparable way. And when one great devotee is glorified, what do other devotees think? What do they think? Sometimes when others are glorified, we think, Arey, I am better than him. Why Lord is not glorifying me? Why Guru is not glorifying me? I mean, conditioned souls like us will think like that. But all the devotees would be very happy when any devotee would be. Okay, I think it's getting late. I want to do a little bit more, but I think I'll stop here. We'll continue. The Lord next speaks to Shivananda the same, but we'll continue that conversation next time onwards. Okay, so thank you very much. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. So any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Sridhar Prabhu, I saw you enjoying hearing about Lord Chaitanya. Thank you. Enthusiastically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this one like Nandotsav, so which is after Krishna Janmashtami or like when it
Yeah,
is?
yeah. Next day. Because the Lord appeared on the midnight. So the day of the midnight is Janmashtami. The next day is Nandotsav. So the observation of the birth festivities which Nanda Maharaj had was on the day after Janmashtami. Because Lord is born on midnight, so next day morning only you can celebrate. Yeah, so Nandotsav is the day when, of course, Srila Prabhupada also appeared.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so thank you very much. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So Janmashtami is coming, so please track your calendars and your local temple schedules with respect to the various festivities. Now is a very busy festival season. Every couple of weeks there will be various festivities. Radhashtami will come soon after as well, and so on and so forth, all the way leading into Kartik, Deepavali, all these festivals. So thank you very much. Grantara Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Hare
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu.
you,
Hare
thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhu.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
Punjaji,
Prabhuji.
Tarun, Haribol,
Thank you,
Bhaskar,
Prabhu.
thank you,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandavat
Sridhar
Pranam.
Prabhu, thank
Prabhu.
you. Dulika Mataji, thank you. Sridhar Prabhu, thank you. You are surrounded by the
Thank you,
Gopas
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
background. Thank you, Anand Sundari Mataji, Sachi Prema Mataji, Devi Mataji, Veena Anand Sundari Mataji, thank you. Sri Devi ji, thank you. Hari Hari, Sneha ji also, yes. Hari Hari. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Tarun, Puja Mataji.